Last night, my childhood friend and I had crossed the line, fueled by too much whiskey. I stared at Miriam, who was right there beside me. Come morning, she was propped against the headboard, her brow furrowed, smoking a cigarette in grim silence. I could read her regret plain as day, so I spoke up first to ease her mind, telling her we were both grown-ups and that we could just chalk it up to two people scratching a mutual itch. She exhaled so deeply after that. The relief was unmistakable. Good, because I'm actually seeing someone now. The words landed like a sucker punch to my skull. You're in a relationship? I had echoed, almost without thinking. That's right, she said, her face growing dead serious. I'm planning to bring him home to meet my folks over the holidays. And when you do meet, you know damn well what you can and can't say, don't you? The room went quiet for a beat, and I had to force a grin on my face. Relax, I know how to play my part. We're best buds, aren't we? Miriam seemed perfectly pleased with my response, and she casually crushed her cigarette into the ashtray, then rose to pull on her clothes. Smart move. And hey, don't sweat it. I haven't forgotten about you. I know this girl who's absolutely stunning. I'll throw a little get-together and introduce you sometime. At the doorway, she paused mid-stride, looked back over her shoulder, and held my gaze for a long moment. Edward, we swore back in the day that whoever found their one true love first, the other would offer their blessing without reservation. You'll be happy for us, right? I fought to hold that brittle smile on my face. Of course. When you two have your big day, I'll make sure to give you a ridiculously huge gift. She finally smiled, turned on her heel, and left, pulling the door softly closed as she went. Once the apartment had gone completely quiet, I picked up the cigarette Miriam had left on the nightstand and lit it, inhaling a long, savage drag. I didn't even really smoke, never had. Even though Miriam had shown me the ropes more than once, I'd never gotten the trick of it, always ending up in a coughing fit. And this time was no different, the acrid smoke tearing through my windpipe, sending me into a spasm of harsh, dry hacking. With every cough, it felt like another tear was being ripped across my heart, and the tears I couldn't stop smeared my vision. Just how many years had I been carrying this torch for Miriam, anyway? Well, I did the math. This marked the 7th year. The previous evening, we'd gone out for dinner like we always did, and we'd both put away more than our share of drinks. And to this day, I couldn't tell you who'd made the first move, but we'd ended up tangled in each other's arms, hazy and reckless. That morning, the giddy hope I'd woken with had curdled instantly into icy dread, especially the moment I caught sight of that tight crease between her brows. The soreness in my muscles was nothing next to the knife twisting in my chest. So I'd faked a careless shrug and told her we were grown-ups, that I hadn't expected her to take any responsibility, and that we should treat it as two people scratching each other's backs. I could see the tension drain out of Miriam's shoulders plain as day, and a small, relieved smile even tugged at her lips. Perfect, she'd said. I'd always told myself Miriam must have felt at least something for me. We'd done everything couples did, short of actually calling ourselves one. Back in college, she hated staying in the dorms, so for all 4 years, I'd ride the train down every Friday to be with her and scrub that little rental place she had near campus until it sparkled. We'd hit the supermarket together, cook meals side by side, and sit across from each other at dinner, then curl up on the sofa, shoulder to shoulder, gaming until late. She was plenty thoughtful toward me, too, never coming back from a trip without a souvenir for me, and surprising me on every little holiday, big and small. And bit by bit, I'd drown myself in that beautiful, blurry illusion, naively convinced we were heading toward a shared future together, that the only thing left was to break through that final, flimsy barrier. In the end, it turned out it was all just my own wishful thinking. I'd always wondered why so many people got hooked on nicotine, but now I understood. Nicotine didn't offer happiness, not really. It just made the misery a little more bearable. And that was the day I truly became a smoker. The following day was New Year's Eve, and per our usual tradition, I went with my parents to Miriam's place for the family feast. Our families had always been tight-knit, especially since my mom and Miriam's mother had been inseparable best friends since they were little girls, and after the older generation on both sides had passed, our households just melded into one. We'd shared nearly every holiday together for as long as I could remember, but the instant I stepped through that doorway, I couldn't help but freeze in my tracks. There at the dinner table, pressed close to Miriam's side, sat a man in a crisp white turtleneck. He had clean-cut black hair and features so sharp and handsome that he could have been a heartthrob from TV show. Well, who do we have here? My mom had stopped short, startled. This is Joey, Miriam's boyfriend, Miriam's mom announced, grinning ear to ear. I've been waiting years for her to bring someone home. Thank God. I used to worry that girl would end up an old maid. Miriam looked at me, flashing that familiar, practiced smile. Come sit down already. My mom made those braised chicken wings you love so much, and nobody's gonna steal them from you this year. The whole plate's yours. I hesitated only a second, then took the chair at the far end of the table. Miriam's smile faltered just a fraction when she saw that. I kept my head down and shoveled rice into my my mouth, not saying a peep, and the table's usual warmth had chilled a few degrees. Perhaps sensing the awkwardness creeping in, Miriam's mom launched into an effusive praise session about Joey. Joey went to the same university as our Miriam, and he won a national scholarship every single year. And both his parents are university professors. He was that classic overachiever from childhood on, and he even got an offer from ER magazine, starting right after he graduated, and now he's already an editor on staff. My mom couldn't stop singing his praises either. He's so good looking, and his credentials are so top-notch. Any kids you two have would be absolutely gorgeous. Unlike our Edward, she pivoted, turning to me, and shot me that all too familiar look of disappointment mixed with exasperation. Words I'd heard so often they were practically etched into my skull. He's done nothing worthwhile since he graduated, always yapping about writing a book, but I haven't seen anything come of it. Just hole up indoors, never setting foot outside. He's turning 26 come the new year. Edward, you keep dragging your feet and you'll be left on the shelf. All the decent girls will be taken by then. You're going to worry your mother into an early grave. I just clutched my chopsticks until my knuckles went white. Usually my mom's lectures went in one ear and out the other, but now with Miriam and her boyfriend right there, every word felt like someone was flaying me alive. Edward is a talented young man. Miriam's mom quickly jumped in, her voice warm and placating. Maybe he'll become a great novelist one day, and you'll be living off his fame. My mom just waved a hand, unimpressed. I wouldn't dare dream that big. As long as he brings home a proper girl one day, I'll consider my motherly duty done. Right then, Joey cut in. Edward, I know a bunch of quality single women. Why don't we exchange iMessage info, and I'll pick out a few good matches for you to meet. I shot him a look and barely mustered a smile. Appreciate it, but that's really not necessary. Joey smiled and clasped Miriam's hand, all warm and cozy. Don't be a stranger. Miriam's told me you two are thick as thieves since you were kids, and I've actually seen you around campus a few times, always trailing after Miriam, and I'd honestly assumed you two were a thing back then. No way. Miriam draped her arm over his shoulders, casual as can be, her pretty eyes crinkling into happy crescents. We grew up sharing the same pair of pants. We're practically siblings. If there was anything there, we'd have gotten together 100 years ago. Why are you even bringing that up? We're just pure friendship. Best buddies. Isn't that right, Edward? I raised my head and caught Miriam's gaze, heavy with unspoken warning. In that moment, I probably looked like I was smiling through a sob, but I had no more acting left in me. Yeah, I parroted numb as a robot, best friends. I kept that mask plastered on, and I suddenly realized how utterly absurd it all was, almost laughable in its cruelty. Best friends? We've been tangled up in each other's sheets barely a day ago. Since you're best friends, then that makes you a good friend of mine too. Joey let out a light laugh. Just tell me what you're into. Don't hold back. Miriam turned to face me too. Edward, you really ought to get yourself a proper partner too. I dropped my head low, certain that the tears were about to fall, but to my surprise, none came. My eyes burned with a parched, bitter sting, and that dull throb from the previous night's whiskey still lingered. The table grew even more animated around me, everyone smiling and laughing, while I sat there like a ghost at the feast. My mom was still gushing away, saying Miriam and Joey were a pair made in heaven. And in all honesty, they did look perfect together, in their looks, their credentials, and their overall poise. It was as if they'd been custom-made for one another. I just sat there watching them, and it felt like nothing short of self-flagellation. My nails dug half-moons into my palms, until my mom wrapped my knuckles with her chopsticks and started needling me again to bring home a girlfriend to make her proud. She wasn't expecting me to land someone like Miriam. Just a steady, down-to-earth girl would be enough to satisfy her. I couldn't take another second in that room, so I shot to my feet, shoving my bowl away, fighting to hold on to whatever shred of composure I had left. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I just remembered I have some pressing work to take care of, so I'll have to take off. I'd planned to finish that novel draft tonight, but at this moment, my head was a knot of static and I couldn't get a single word onto the page. I just lay there, flat on my back, feeling like there was a fire in my chest with no way to let it out, wanting to break down and sob, but the tears just wouldn't come. My throat and my tear ducts felt completely clogged, and that suffocating pressure felt like it was going to squeeze me out of existence. I had no choice but to head down and buy a pack. In my hometown, winter always dumped a heavy blanket of snow, thick goose feather flakes swirling through the air, caught in the dim halo of the streetlights, whipping around like little orange flames. And out of nowhere, I was flooded with memories of walking home from school with Miriam all those years ago. We always had a million things to talk about, with me kicking things off, telling her about whatever had happened that day, and then she'd take over, chattering a mile a minute. We'd talk all the way to my front door, and even when it came time to say goodbye, we'd stand there was shivering in the bitter cold, refusing to call it quits until we'd said everything. If I shivered or sneezed, she'd pull off her own gray scarf and bundle me up in it without a word, then fix me with a stern face and lecture me. If you go out this underdressed again, I'm not looking after you. She was genuinely flawless in so many ways, except for the fact that she didn't feel the same. That she didn't love me was her single flaw, but that wasn't really a flaw at all. Since she was so out of my league, it wasn't even funny. Her future with Joey seemed so radiant, so hopeful. But for me, she'd been the one bright spot in my otherwise drab existence. I stood there, dazed, watching the snow dance in the air, an unlit cigarette hanging from my mouth. I was just reaching for my lighter when my eyes snagged on two distant figures, hand in hand in the snow. The man was tall and lean, the woman elegant and curved, and they melted into that snow-covered tableau like a scene from a movie. It was one of those classic postcard-perfect images, her long hair gleaming soft and warm under the lamp. It was Joey and Miriam, of course. And for no reason at all, I let out a hollow, bitter laugh, just as Joey rose on his toes and pressed a kiss to Miriam's lips. And Miriam leaned into him, deepening that kiss. That same lamppost that had lit our way home 1,000 times now bathed them in its warm glow. Even I had to admit the scene was as flawless as anything out of TV drama. I stared for a long, frozen moment, then flicked the lighter with numb, clumsy fingers. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely coax a weak little flame out of it. I let out a shaky plume of white smoke, but this time the nicotine had lost its magic. A steady, dull ache pulsed through my chest, and I clamped my palm over my sternum, feeling every beat of that quiet devastation. This winter bit straight through to the bone. New Year's Day came, and my mom's nagging was all I heard. Same old song and dance about me having no real job and no girlfriend, and every rant circled right back to Miriam. Just look at Miriam. What part of you has ever measured up to her? Now that gap's so wide it's just plain sad. The worst part, she wasn't wrong about any of it. Miriam had her own company, and it was killing it. Joey had landed an editor's job at a major magazine. Their futures were golden, and I was just a total failure. The gulf between us seemed to stretch wider by the day, pulling us toward two completely different lives. That evening, I couldn't hold it in any longer, got into a screaming match with my mom, then slammed the door and headed for the airport, catching the first flight back to the city where I'd gone to college. The moment I stepped off the plane, Miriam's call came chasing right after me. I heard you took off early from your mom. Why didn't you wait so we could go together? I just couldn't focus on my writing at home, so I had to come back and grind out some pages. Truthfully, it didn't matter where I was. My head was an empty void. Not a single word would come. Miriam saw right through that excuse. You got into it with your mom again, didn't you? She just wants you to get your life sorted. I got you something. I'll give it to you when I get back. By the 8th day of the new year, Miriam was back and already hitting me up to meet. Let's do dinner tonight, and I'll hand over your present. She had this uncanny talent for picking out the exact things I'd been coveting but couldn't justify buying. I used to take them without a second thought, but this time I shut it down cold. Don't bother, Miriam. Stop wasting your money on me. Over the phone, Miriam's voice was thick with confusion. What's going on? What happened? I dropped my gaze and kept my voice even. Look, you have a boyfriend now, and you're still giving other guys pricey presents like that. That's probably not going to sit well with him. Even though Miriam had always been the one in my heart, she had her own person now, someone she cared about. And at this point, I genuinely wanted her to be happy. I held no grudge against Joey, because even if it wasn't him, it'd be someone else, and it would never, ever be me. Oh, come on. It's nothing, Miriam breezed, as if it didn't matter. Joey's not that petty. 7 o'clock, our usual spot. See you there. I gotta run. I've got a meeting coming up. After I hung up, I couldn't quite name the feeling that settled in my chest, like sour plum juice, slowly leaching out from my ribs. Sometimes I truly hated how kind Miriam was to me. I'd rather she'd been a little crueler, so I'd never have fallen this deep. Of course, Joey didn't mind, because Miriam didn't have any feelings for me, and that meant she had no reason to keep her distance for his sake. He knew perfectly well I wasn't any kind of threat. We weren't rivals. I didn't even qualify as one. Miriam left me no room to say no, so after work, I dragged myself to our usual restaurant anyway, and I definitely wasn't expecting to find 3 people already seated at the table. Joey was there, along with a woman I'd never seen before. She was strikingly beautiful, with a vibe like one of those film stars. I stopped in my tracks, and Miriam was already motioning me over. Over here. The moment I sat down, she launched into introductions. This is my friend Chloe. She's an MIT grad, and she's running her own company now. Before I could even wonder why she was laying out Chloe's resume like that, Miriam mouthed 2 words at me, single, and in that second, it all clicked. She wasn't there to give me a present. She was trying to set me up through the back door. My stomach dropped and my head spun, and I'm sure I looked like I just swallowed a lemon, but I couldn't school my face. I could handle Miriam not loving me, but I couldn't stand that she was so eager to to shove me into someone else's arms. She knew how much I loved her, so how could she brush me off like it was nothing? Or was she just scared I wouldn't let go and needed me to latch onto someone else so she could finally shake me loose? Miriam didn't seem to catch any of the storm brewing in me. You two must have met as kids, right? I don't remember. I just kept my head down, not saying a word. Chloe didn't seem bothered in the least. Instead, she flashed a smile and teased. Edward, you used to push me around all the time when we were little, remember? And now you're playing like you don't know me. Not cool. She pointed to a tiny scar on her forehead. I blinked and she went on, we were next door neighbors. When I first moved onto that block, Miriam was basically the queen of the neighborhood, always looking for reasons to pick on me. And you were her loyal little sidekick, remember? She propped her chin on her palm and her eyes crinkled into those pretty little crescents as she grinned. You had such a fiery temper back then. You seem a lot more mellow now. With that, a landslide of buried memories rushed back. In those days, all the local kids fell in line behind Miriam, except for this one new little brat who always had to butt heads with her. One time, they actually came to blows, and I, of course, didn't think twice before jumping in to back Miriam up. I'd only meant to scare the girl off, but my foot slipped, and the pebble I was holding clocked her right on the forehead, and it split the skin clean open. My mom tore me a new one that day, and marched me right over to Chloe's to make amends. Luckily, her folks were reasonable about it, said kids played rough and didn't hold it against me. After that, out of guilt, I could never turn her down when she asked me to hang out. I just couldn't say no. Little by little, I ended up spending more time with her than I did with Miriam, which made Miriam sulk for days on end, threatening to never speak to me again. But after a few years, Chloe's family packed up and moved. I missed her a lot at first, writing her letters off and on, but kids forget quickly. And as the months rolled on, she drifted out of my head. Who'd have guessed that all these years later, that fierce little girl from my childhood would have grown into this absolutely stunning woman? We bumped into each other, and somehow you came up in conversation. So we figured we'd just round everyone up for a meal. Oh, by the way, Miriam handed me a box. It's a Cartier. My chest tightened when I saw it. I mentioned once, offhand, that I liked that brand, and I never thought Miriam would have tucked that away. Joey picked this out especially for you. Not bad, right? My hand went rigid around the box. Joey smiled and added, yeah, Miriam and I saw it when we were away, and we both thought it suited your vibe, so we grabbed it. You like it? I suddenly felt like I was trapped in some twisted joke. Joey and I had eerily similar tastes. After all, not just in watches, but in who we were drawn to. He was a decent guy. I'd give him that. He must have known where my heart lay with Miriam, but he'd never once made me feel small in front of others, choosing instead these quiet, insidious reminders that she'd never, not for 1 second, seen me as anything more than a friend. I barely managed to curl the corners of my mouth, pouring every ounce of my strength into not looking like a complete wreck in that moment. I love it. Thanks. That night, Miriam called me up. I sent Chloe your iMessage contact. She's genuinely wonderful. You two should spend some time, get to know one another. Wonderful. I shot a glance at that stark, cold moon hanging in the sky, blazing like a giant halogen bulb. Absolutely. She's amazing. You don't even know how popular she is right now. She's got guys lining up to bring her breakfast, and every day it's something different. Oh, and she's never even had a boyfriend before. I can promise you she's untouched. So rest easy, crystal clean. She just kept singing Chloe's praises, almost like she was scared I'd find Chloe lacking and keep clinging to her like a leech. My heart felt like it was being squeezed and wrung dry by some invisible fist, crushed until there was nothing left, and a dull roar filled my ears. The tears I'd been choking back finally spilled over. I bit down on my lips so hard I couldn't let out a sound, terrified that if I opened my mouth, it would come out as a sob. But Miriam caught on anyway. She let out a small sigh. Edward, I've always seen you as my best friend. You know that. Stop wasting your heart on me. And just like that, my heart ground down to dust. So she'd known all along. She'd known I loved her. In that suffocating ache, I lit a cigarette with hands that couldn't stop shaking. Cigarettes really were something else. A minute ago, I'd been in so much agony I thought I was dying, and now, with just a hit of nicotine, I'd somehow pushed it down. Loving her was a road with no end, a long stretch of hopelessness, and I'd stumbled down it for years without ever seeing a crack of light. Maybe it was time to just stop walking, to quit forging ahead. I heard myself answer in a flat, hollow voice, like it belonged to someone else. Okay, I'll add her. And it was that very night, after I'd stubbed out that cigarette, that I finally resolved to put Miriam behind me for good. It wasn't until the next day that Chloe accepted my request. The conversation started off with that stiff, awkward feel, but she had a knack for steering it back to our childhood days, and the tension melted away fast. Hey, remember? You used to be crazy about those street cart sausages. I blew every dime of my allowance buying those for you. We each had one, you and me, but you wolfed yours down and then swiped half of mine too. I felt my cheeks flush at the memory. That was definitely me, no question. I've been a little terror back then. Chloe looked fierce on the outside, but she'd never known what to do with my whining and flopping around. Every time we'd hang out, I'd find some new way to torment her. If my feet got sore, I'd make her give me a piggyback ride. If I got hungry, she'd have to buy me treats. And if it rained, her backpack became my shield against the rain. I've been out of the country for years now, and I don't even know where to find good food around here anymore. I gave it some thought and recommended this old place Miriam and I used to hit up all the time. It had been around forever, packed since our school days. Sounds tempting. Want to try it with me? Then she added, and you owe me so many sausages. Isn't it time you paid up with interest? With that, I couldn't exactly say no. Fine, dinner's on me. The weather had been miserable lately, just gray and snowing every day. Winter days were always short, and it got dark early, the snow catching the gleam of passing headlights. I picked Chloe out immediately by that roadside cart. Not because of anything special, she was just impossible to miss in that crowd. She had on a long gray wool coat over a black turtleneck, and she was holding a Bentley umbrella. The whole ensemble was just impossible to ignore. She looked like she just stepped off a movie poster, and every guy who walked past did a double take. I felt a little sheepish. Come on, we're just grabbing street food. Why are you so dressed to the nines? Chloe angled the umbrella in my direction, glanced down, looking slightly embarrassed. I just got out of a meeting, didn't have a chance to switch out. Should I run back and change? No, this is great. I took her by the arm and steered her toward the cart. Their grilled squid is legendary, and you've got to try their grilled eggplant. She looked down at where I was holding her hand. So look at you now, I said, making small talk between bites. Just filling the air. You used to brawl with everyone as a kid, and now I gave her a once-over. You've grown up so much I barely recognize you. Chloe's eyes sparkled like little glass marbles. Truth is, I didn't actually want to fight you. I was new in town, didn't have a clue where I was, no friends, and I thought you looked sweet, so I just wanted to be friends. But Miriam wouldn't have any of it, so we came to blows. Wait, what? I blinked, caught off guard. She had a real temper on her, and every time she caught us together, she'd come charging over to pick a fight. Chloe mused. I used to think she had a thing for you, but I guess you're just buddies after all. My smile went stiff at that. Yeah, just buddies. Right then, my phone buzzed. I glanced to the screen. It was Miriam on iMessage. What are you doing? Let's go grab some street meat. I just found this killer little place. Before I could type a reply, Chloe slid the menu over to me. I've never tried grilled eggplant. Is it any good? Are you kidding? It's incredible. Their grilled eggplant is out of this world. You've got to order it. I'll take one grilled eggplant. Hey, they've got draft beer here. Chloe pointed to the next table over. I haven't had a cold one in forever. You drive here? Nope, I cabbed it. I'll take 2 pints. Before I could even answer, she'd already placed the order, so I didn't argue. After a few cold drafts, the mood started to loosen up. After a few rounds, Chloe leaned her head to one side and asked, Miriam tells me you're writing a novel. Can I take a look sometime? I brushed it off with a wave. It's just some random online fiction. Nothing to write home about. That's still pretty impressive, she said, smiling with just a hint of shyness. I used to dream of writing mystery novels like those greats, but I stalled out after a few chapters and just gave up. You like those kinds of authors too? I was pleasantly surprised. I'm a huge fan of that style myself. She hesitated for a second. I remember you were such a great writer back in school, and I figured then that you'd make a career with your writing one day. I knew it was just flattery, but when I had no one in my corner who believed in my dream, when even my folks thought I was just spinning my wheels, and Miriam had never once taken my writing seriously, when there was nobody willing to have my back, even a few hollow compliments could warm me through. Talking to Chloe was an absolute pleasure. She always caught my leads and kept the conversation flowing. With the booze flowing, we were on a roll. We even took the next step and locked in a time for another hangout. It wasn't until we were done eating and I went to the bathroom that I noticed a string of notifications on my phone, plus a bunch of missed calls, all for Miriam. That light, easy mood immediately curdled. I paused for just a second, then stepped out of the bathroom and called her back. What are you up to? Where the hell did you disappear to? You working so hard you can't answer your messages? Miriam sounded genuinely annoyed. I asked you to come out, and you left me hanging. I've been waiting forever. Get over here and keep me company. I dropped my gaze and said softly, I wasn't at work. I just had dinner. Just now? You ate alone. She sounded taken aback. With Chloe, a bitter gust of wind whipped snow through the hallway, dusting my face with a wet chill. The line went quiet for a long beat. Then Miriam's voice returned, a little bit clipped. Chloe? She sounded like she was trying to keep something bottled up. You've barely known each other 5 minutes, and you're already having meals together? I didn't see what the issue was. Didn't you say you wanted to set us up? I didn't push it because I spotted Chloe coming my way. It's not a great look to keep her waiting, so I quickly muttered, I've got to go, and hung up. No sooner had I ended the call than my phone buzzed like crazy again. When are you getting back? Send me your location. It's late. I'll come get you. I couldn't stop my brow from furrowing. Just then, Chloe raised her phone. I've got a driver lined up. Come on, where are you staying now? She made it sound so casual that I just blurted out, Central District. Chloe rattled off the address to the driver, then opened the door and gently steered me inside. She bypassed the shotgun seat and slid into the back beside me. A fresh, clean clean scent of mint and lemon, mixed with sea salt and that hazy warmth of wheat beer, drifted softly my way. Who's got you on your phone all night? You've been stuck to that screen all night. I flipped my phone over onto my knee. Nobody. It wasn't until Chloe had dropped me at my curb and the car was out of sight that I finally remembered to text Miriam back. Don't worry about it. She already gave me a ride back. Within a second, my phone was ringing again. She drove you home. She already knows where you live. Aren't things moving a little quick for you too? I was totally thrown by her tone. Weren't you the one all but shoving her at me and going on about how amazing she was? Miriam went quiet, then clumsily pivoted. What did she spring for tonight? I paid for us. Just that streetcar we always hit up. You took her to my spot. Miriam's voice went up a notch. Yeah, is that an issue? No, it's not. I just think she could have at least taken you somewhere better. How could she let you cover the tab? I figured she'd at least spring for a Michelin dinner. Miriam was clearly in a weird mood tonight, her words dripping with a bitter edge. I couldn't figure out what had crawled up her tailpipe, and with the beer making me drowsy, I really didn't have the energy to bicker about nothing. We used to go there all the time too. Miriam, you're being weird tonight. What's up with you? She paused, quiet for a beat, then just said, forget it. I'm hanging up. It came time to wash Bingo, and I was stuck. Bingo was a stray we'd picked up off the street, a rambunctious lab mix that Miriam and I had found together. He'd been with me ever since. He was huge, and he absolutely hated bath time, and every pet store in the area had turned him away. So Miriam and I had to wrestle him in the tub ourselves. One person couldn't handle him alone. He was just too strong, and the swish of that tail packed a punch like a baseball bat, and more than once I thought it was going to snap my shin. But now that Miriam was taken, calling her over to wrestle the dog in the tub just didn't sit right. I turned it over in my head and eventually rang Chloe up. I mean, if you don't have time, don't sweat it. But she said yes without missing a beat, sounding almost cocky. How hard can it be? Just a dog bath, I've got this. An hour later, though, Chloe was staring at the red marks all up her legs, hissing as she complained. Okay, Edward, I have to ask, shouldn't a Labrador's tail be classified as a deadly weapon? Bingo, the traitor, took an immediate shine to Chloe because she'd come bearing a giant dried cod strip that had him eating out of her hand, and he'd stuck to her like glue ever since, his tail going a mile a minute, smacking her from every angle. Chloe just laughed, scooping Bingo up and into the tub, working the shampoo into his coat. The second that water hit him, though, he went berserk, lunging straight for Chloe like a battering ram. And as she fiddled with the temperature dial, Bingo gave her a sudden shove, knocking her clean off balance and sending her crashing straight into me. In that tiny bathroom, she managed to catch herself just before she flattened me, bracing both hands on the vanity before she could crush me, but she still ended up sprawling across my chest, almost completely covering me. The little bathroom was thick with steam, the heady smell of mint and lemon soap swirling around us. Chloe's white shirt was drenched, plastered to her skin, and it traced every line of her figure without any room for imagination. We were entirely too close. Chloe looked down at me from above. Maybe it was the heat, but her lips had gone a deep, wet red, glossy and full, and her normally sharp eyes had gone smoky and intense, fixed right on mine. A bead of water slipped down a strand of her hair and landed right at the corner of my mouth. So warm I flinched, pulling my head back. You all right? Chloe paused for a second, then slowly pushed herself upright and gave me a teasing grin. I'm fine, but you look like a tomato. You okay? She leaned in even closer, tilting her head and feigning innocence. Her full, heart-shaped lips looked like freshly picked cherries, ripe and inviting. Edward, you're not running a fever, are you? And just like that, all the blood in my body rushed to my face. My entire face was burning. I practically scrambled out of that bathroom on all fours. I just remembered I have stuff to do. You finish up. Her laughter rang out bright behind me. After that, Chloe started stopping by more often, always coming to help with Bingo's baths. And she never showed up empty-handed, bringing a chew toy one day, a pup cup the next, and fish skin rolls the day after. Bingo now lit up more for her than for me, a complete traitor. Chloe loved it, claiming the title of new mom with zero shame. Until one afternoon, I was walking Bingo around the block and ran smack into Miriam, who was toting shopping bag. What are you doing here? I was caught off guard. I haven't seen Bingo in a while. Figured he was about due for a scrub. Miriam held up her bag. I got new pet shampoo and some freeze-dried snacks. You're a terrible dog dad. You didn't even call me to help with bath time. Hey, he actually looks pretty clean. Bingo, come a mama. Ever since we brought Bingo home, Miriam had always styled herself as his mom, insisting he was her little boy. At first, I'd been secretly thrilled and happily accepted the role of dad. But now, I couldn't help but frown, a knot of unease forming in my gut. Bingo bounded toward her, tail wagging like crazy. But the moment Miriam reached down to grab him, he veered right around her and crashed straight into Chloe, who was just behind her. Chloe laughed, scratching behind his ears, then slipped him a treat and cooed, Bingo, did you miss Mama? Miriam's smile evaporated on the spot, her voice dropping to ice. What are you doing doing here? Chloe didn't even seem to register her tone, just let Bingo rub all over her. I came to give my son a bath. Miriam had always been sharp as a tack in social situations, knowing exactly how to play every room. And underneath it all, she was deeply proud, rarely deeming anyone worth her time, though she always put on that sweet, charming act. I'd never seen that cold mask drop before. Bingo is my son. Oh, really? Because he doesn't seem to like you much. Chloe kept rubbing Bingo's head and locked eyes with Miriam without flinching. Between these two women who were, at least in name, still friends, you could practically hear the static crackle between them. Bingo! Miriam's voice cut like a frozen razor. Get over here. Bingo froze, confused, circling Chloe a couple of times, looking bewildered. Miriam hadn't come to see Bingo in 2 full months now, not once in 60 days. Bingo had been hit by a car as a puppy, and his memory had never been the same. Sometimes, when I'd leave him with a friend back home, it'd take him a good long minute to even remember who I was. With that much time between them, he'd clearly already forgotten Miriam. Miriam's face went dark, and she snatched Bingo's collar. Bingo, when you were a stray on that street, getting kicked around, who was it that brought you in? You ungrateful mutt. You can't even remember your own mom. I bought you every single one of those chicken drumsticks. Bingo was so scared by her snarling face that he scrambled backward, hiding behind Chloe's legs. Chloe put herself between them, her brow knitted as she spoke. Miriam, you're freaking him out. But Miriam wasn't about to back off, clenching that collar like a vice. You ungrateful little beast. Bingo, I'm the one who raised you. Bingo pushed past his breaking point, let out a pathetic yelp, and then sank his teeth into Miriam's hand. It wasn't deep, but it broke the skin. Miriam went rigid, staring at her hand in utter shock at the little crescents and the blood welling up. Are you all right? I rushed over, worried. Do you need to get that looked at? But Chloe caught my arm. Look at Bingo. He's trembling. He's probably in shock. We need to get him to the vet now. I turned, and Bingo, as if he knew he'd messed up, was lying on the ground, trembling and letting out sad little whines, his sides heaving with fast, shallow breaths. Chloe lifted Bingo up. Come on. My adrenaline spiking. I couldn't hold back from snapping at Miriam. You know he's scared of everything. Why do you have to go and terrify him? I'm taking him to the clinic, and you go get yourself a rabies shot. Miriam just stood there frozen, her face going white as copy paper, her eyes locked on me. Even after I got into Chloe's car and we pulled away, I could still see her in the rear view, standing there like a statue. Thankfully, Bingo was fine. The vet said he was just scared and needed a quiet place to decompress. I felt pretty lousy about the whole thing. Bingo had been ours, Miriam's and mine from the very start. We'd raised him together, and even though she hadn't been around as much as me, she had always been good to him. Getting bitten by a dog you'd raised had to sting. But then again, whose fault was it really? That damaged little brain of his had just forgotten her, plain and simple. After that long apart, what did she expect? I looked at Bingo, still looking down, sighed, and gathered him up in my arms. Meanwhile, my novel stats were a bloodbath. I'd slaved over hundreds of thousands of words, and almost nobody was reading them. I pushed through to the end anyway, and my editor told me, politely enough, that it was solid work, but good books get buried all the time. A lot of the time, it just comes down to luck and whether you get the right push. And just then, my mom called the tear into me again. How's that worthless novel going? A few grand a month. You can't even feed yourself. Why do you have to beat this dead horse? You're just not cut out for it. She was fuming now. Look at Miriam and her guy. How come everyone else is killing it? And she went right back to her same old tune, not expecting me to be anything great, just wanted me to find a stable job. Stop messing around with your nonsense. Pack your bags and come home for the setup game. She droned on for an age before she finally, grudgingly, hung up and then fired off a link. I clicked it, and it was a glowing profile about some golden boy, born with a silver spoon in his mouth, a straight-A student, a piano prodigy, even played at the Sydney Opera House and graduated top of his class. Before he'd even graduated, he'd snagged an offer from a top magazine and was already an editor within months. And next to his shiny, perfect life, I was just gutter sludge. I was seething. So I fished that half pack of smokes I'd tossed when I quit, and I lit one up. The biting cold and the nicotine burn scraped at my throat. I stared out into the pitch black night, feeling hollow and drained. Maybe my mom was right. Maybe I was just meant to be ordinary, and maybe I should just accept it. I was just a nobody. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was Chloe, her voice carrying a little thrill. There's a Leonid meteor shower tomorrow night. I've got a villa up in the hills with a telescope. Want to come watch with me? I paused, and she added, they say wishes made under the Leonids always come true. I was still on the fence, but I said, all right. Chloe's luxury hillside villa had a whole glass wall, and the stars were laid out in a velvet blanket before us. We sat shoulder to shoulder, bundled under the same throw, but a sudden, ugly wave of inferiority crashed over me. We were both grown-ups. No use playing dumb. I knew Chloe had feelings for me, but why? What could a complete nobody like me ever offer someone like her? Was she just bored of all the golden boys and looking for a little neighborhood flavor? I quietly quietly put some distance between us. And suddenly, I was dying for a cigarette, but I hadn't brought any with me. I turned to Chloe. You got a smoke? She looked at me, surprised. You smoke? A flash of defiance sparked in my chest. Yeah, I'm a chain smoker. That a problem? Chloe raised an eyebrow. Why would I? It's your life. She fished a pack out of her pocket and opened it. Just one left. It's menthol. Want it? I nodded. She lit it for me, her lashes casting little shadows across her cheeks. I took a drag, and she reached her hand out. Give me a puff. I blinked. Did you miss the part where there's only one left? What, you gonna hoard it? Chloe just watched me with those quiet eyes. Her iris is a shade lighter than most, like moonlit seawater. And with a face like that, I couldn't say no. And while I was still frozen, she smoothly plucked it from my fingers and brought it to her own lips. She took a lazy drag, her eyes half-litting, and blew out a pale, minty ring. And then she found another throw from somewhere and cocooned the two of us in it. Edward, I really like you. I liked you when we were little, and the second I saw you again, I just fell for you all over. You might not see it, but you really are something special. Maybe you're in a valley right now, not sure where to go. That's why you can't see your own spark. But I see it. It's always been there, shining right at me. She pointed up, and overhead, without warning, the meteor shower had begun raining down, silent and brilliant. Just like those shooting stars, you're that bright. I was speechless, watching those streaks of light tear across the dark. She let out a soft laugh and ruffled my hair like I was a pup. Make a wish. I closed my eyes and sent it out into the void. I wished for the life I'd been chasing, for my words to finally land. When I opened them again, Chloe was looking at me, her eyes warm and laughing. My face was on fire. What did you wish for? I said, desperate for something to ground me. She didn't say a word. She just leaned in, just a fraction, her gaze dropping to my mouth. Her voice came out raspy. There's one hit left. You want it? My heart was thumping in my ears, and I heard myself say, yeah. She pressed it to my lips. The filter was already damp, and then her thumb found my chin, and that minty smoke flooded my mouth. A thin curl of white smoke twisted between us, and then the cool was gone, replaced by pure heat, and I was drowning, my breath gone. I fell back against the cushions, grabbing for her wrist, but she was so soft, and yet she wouldn't give an inch, and she laced her fingers between mine, holding on tight. Outside, the shower was in full swing now, dazzlingly beautiful. Her tongue traced the corner of my mouth, her damp hair cool against my burning ear. She pulled back, panting softly, and looked at me. So what does that make us? I could barely squeak it out. What do you think? She laughed and gave my lip a little bite. Then I guess that makes me your girlfriend now. Say nothing, and I'm taking that as a yes. And right then, my phone started screaming. I fumbled for it, accidentally hitting speaker, and the voice on the other end cut straight through the heat like a bucket of ice. Edward, why haven't you shown up yet? My head went white. What? Miriam's voice dropped to ice. It's my birthday. You forgot, didn't you? And just like that, I remembered she was right. For as long as I could remember, it had been the biggest day on my calendar. I'd start plotting her gift months in advance. I'd come up with a whole elaborate surprise. And this year, I'd blanked on the whole thing. I rubbed the back of my neck. I'm sorry, I forgot. She was pissed. That much was clear. Forget the present. Just get your ass over here. I've got food, I've got snacks, I've got a whole movie lineup. Just come. In the past, it had always just been us two. A nice dinner, some drinks, a movie, either at home or at the cinema. Nothing special, but back then, I thought it was everything. I frowned. You've got a boyfriend now. It's not really right for me to crash that. From now on, Joey should be the one doing that. Edward, the shower's almost over. Chloe nudged me when she caught me still on a line. Miriam went dead quiet on the other end. Then came that cold, sharp laugh. Is it really because of Joey, or are you just not coming? I sighed. I'm with Chloe right now. I can't make it. Happy birthday. I'll make it up to you later. Her voice climbed, sharp and jagged. Chloe, that's all you ever say now. She's that important to you? We've known each other for years. You've known her for what, a week? Is she really more important than me? I felt a bitter laugh rising. I couldn't figure out why she was so upset. We were grown-ups, weren't we? Didn't she know that when you're with someone, you don't keep that close with other people? Or was she just playing stupid? She wanted Joey, and she wanted me as her safety net. She wanted the boyfriend and the special friend on the hook. Right then, I realized I'd never truly known her at all. If she just turned me down flat, I'd have been broken, but I'd have gotten over it. But this hit different. This just felt wrong. She's important, I said, my voice even. She's my girlfriend now. The other end was dead air. Finally, Miriam's voice came back, thin and stiff. You two, you're together? Yeah, I said, and I nodded. Wasn't this what you wanted? You're the one who set us up. A sharp, mean little thrill shot through me. She's as amazing as you said. I should be thanking you. Without you, I'd never have found someone this good. Chloe took the phone from me, her voice bright and cheerful. Thank you so much. We'll take you out to repay the favor. 3 seconds later, the call cut off. I stared at the blank screen. Chloe wrapped her arms around me from behind. Don't get lost in your head. The show's almost over. I didn't go back home that year. After making that wish under those stars, I decided to give myself one final shot. One more book. One last try. If it tanked again, I'd walk away from writing for good. That night, I sat at my computer for hours and wiped every outline I'd ever made. And then, out of nowhere, nowhere, a new idea hit me. I didn't want to write about love anymore. I wanted to write about clawing your way back. After that night under the stars, Miriam and I went radio silent. She hadn't texted in weeks, and even the old streetcar guy asked where she'd gone. Where's Miriam? I haven't seen her around. She's seeing someone. Got a boyfriend to keep her busy. He looked at me funny. I figured you two were a thing. You're always together. I let out a hollow laugh. Just friends. But the last person I expected to hear from was Joey. A buddy of mine just opened a new escape room. Says it's the biggest one in town. He wants us to run through it, give our feedback. Why don't you bring Chloe along? Make it a group outing. I said no. Sorry, don't think we'll have the time. Miriam and I had run our course. There was no point dragging it out. Even though we'd been like two halves of one thing. Maybe this was the end. All that was left was just awkwardness now. Come on, just do me a solid. Joey and I don't have a lot of people we can hang with. If you don't come, I'm fresh out of ideas. With it put like that, I couldn't really say no. I glanced at Chloe. She arched an eyebrow and gave a tiny nod. All right, send me the address. He brightened right up. Perfect. Saturday at 7. See you then. I hadn't laid eyes on Miriam in a while. And when she finally did see me, she didn't seem too thrilled. She was leaning against the wall, hands in her pockets, and her gaze barely skimmed me before she looked off, cold and dismissive. Joey, on the other hand, was buzzing. Let's go. My guy dropped over 8 million on this thing. There are dozens of live actors in there. It's gonna be wild. Miriam snorted. Some people can't even sit through a horror flick without sleeping with the nightlight on. He's gonna be white-knuckling through the whole thing. I shot her a look, knowing exactly which old skeleton she was digging up. Back in high school, our folks had taken off on a trip together. I've been stuck at home alone and ended up crashing at her place. A new horror movie had just dropped, something like A Quiet Place. Where's Miriam? I haven't seen her in a hot minute. She's got a boyfriend. She's busy with him. The vendor gave me a funny look. I thought you two were a thing. See you two everywhere together. I let out a dry laugh. Just old friends. But then Joey, of all people, reached out. A buddy of mine just opened this new escape room. He says it's the biggest one in the city. He wants us to come test it out, give him feedback. Bring Chloe too, make it foursome. I demurred. Sorry, we're probably too busy. Miriam and I were finished. No point in prolonging it. Even if we'd been thick as thieves once, it was better to just let it go. All we do now is make things weird. Come on, just do me a solid. Miriam and I don't have a lot of people to drag along. If you don't come, I'm fresh out of options. With it put that way, I couldn't say no. I turned to Chloe. She raised an eyebrow and gave a little nod. Phoenix, send me the address. Joey was all smiles. Great. This Saturday, 7. See you then. I hadn't seen Miriam in a bit, and she didn't look too happy when I walked in. She was leaning against the wall, hands shoved in her jacket pockets, and she gave me a quick once-over before looking away. Joey, though, was pumped. Let's go. My buddy dropped 8 million on this. There are like 40 live actors in there. It's gonna be crazy. Miriam sniffed. Some people can't even watch a horror movie without sleeping with the lights on. They'll probably be hugging the walls all night. I shot her a look, knowing exactly which old memory she was dragging up. Back in high school, our folks had taken off on a trip. I'd been on my own and ended up crashing at her place every day. There'd been a new horror movie out, something like A Quiet Place. She dragged me to see it. It hadn't bothered me during the film, but that night, I couldn't sleep at all. I kept feeling like there was something in the dark watching me. I tossed and turned forever before I finally got up and knocked on her door. Miriam, can I crash in your room? She nearly jumped out of her skin. In my room? What are you talking about? It's your fault for dragging me to that movie. She'd stifled a laugh, but when she saw how red my eyes were, she'd sighed and scooted over. Fine, get in. Once I was under the covers, she'd patted my back, her voice softer. It's okay. I'm right here. Go to sleep. I'll take you for ice cream tomorrow. There's a new place. With her there, all that fear just melted away. I'd slept like a rock that night. I still remember waking up the next morning. I'd open my eyes and she was right there, propped on her elbow, smiling at me. Morning, scaredy cat. The morning light was dancing on her lashes. Sleep together? What are you getting at? It's your fault for making me watch that movie. I told you I didn't want to. She was holding back a smile, but when she saw my red-rimmed eyes, she just sighed and shifted over. Phoenix, just get in. Once I was under her covers, she patted my back, a little stiffly, her voice softer. It's okay. I'm here. Don't be scared. Go to sleep. Tomorrow, I'll take you to that new ice cream spot. I heard it's good. With her right next to me, the fear just melted away and I slept like a baby. I still remember that morning when I opened my eyes. I blinked my eyes open, groggy, and the first thing I saw was Miriam's face looking down at me. She was propped on her palm, just smiling at me. Hey, scaredy cat, you up? The morning light was dancing on her eyelashes, and for a second, my heart just stopped. I could hear my own heart thumping in that quiet morning. And that's when it hit me. For the first time, I was in love with Miriam. Just as Joey had promised, this escape room was no joke. The production value was insane, and I was clinging to Chloe's arms so tight I wouldn't let go, my palms drenched and my heart pounding a mile a minute. Chloe squeezed my hand back, holding it firm. Don't be scared. Joey seemed a little rattled as well, staying glued to Miriam's side. Miriam, though, looked totally unfazed, hands in her pockets, striding striding ahead like she owned the place. I did my best to keep my terror in check, scared to death of looking like a total coward in front of them. We were just about to reach the exit, and I just exhaled in relief when we were searching for clues in the final room. A freezing hand shot out from under the bed and latched onto my ankle. Under the flickering dim lights, a wild-haired, blood-streaked figure was crawling out from underneath, slow and deliberate. And with a deafening shriek of sound effects, a ghost in a noose dropped down out of nowhere and let out a piercing scream right at Joey and me. I knew it was all actors, I knew, but I was still terrified out of my wits, and I couldn't even manage a scream. Joey's face had gone white as a sheet. In the chaos, we tripped over each other and went stumbling backward. Right before I hit the ground, two hands shot out at the same time and caught me. On pure instinct, I grabbed the nearest hand, and then I tumbled into an embrace, the faint, clean scent of mint filling my nose. Above me, Chloe's voice came through, anxious. "Are you okay?" Before I could even answer, the lights blazed on and the door swung open. The session was over. I instinctively looked over to my side, and there was Miriam, frozen in this awkward half-reach, still holding her hands out toward me, completely stuck in that moment. And Joey was down on the floor by her feet, staring back and forth between us, his face gray. Right then, the air in that room was thicker and more suffocating than it had been during the actual game. I tried to crack the tension with a weak laugh. "Miriam, were you going for Joey there?" But she just stared, tight-lipped, as if I hadn't said anything, just glaring at me and Chloe with this dark look. And she didn't offer a word of explanation. Chloe didn't back down either, looking right back at her. Joey slowly got to his feet. He didn't offer Miriam a hand. He just walked out. That night, Joey asked me to meet him alone. He had red-rimmed eyes, but he held himself together, dressed in that expensive coat, with his hair still perfectly styled. "Miriam and I are done," he said, his voice a little thick. I was stunned. I'd always thought they were a perfect match, and Miriam had seemed to really be into him. He was the first guy she'd ever brought home to meet her folks. Is it because of what happened at the escape room? I could go talk to her, explain. She must have just been reaching for you. Joey laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Actually, I didn't invite you because I didn't have anyone else to go with. I wanted to get you alone. You might not know, but Miriam's been in a real funk for the last 2 months. She walks around with a permanent scowl. Every time I ask her to go out, she brushes me off, says she's swamped. And even when she does show, she's never really present." He paused and went on. "Ever since she heard about you and Chloe, sometimes, when we're together, I catch her scrolling through old photos of you two and combing through your old iMessage conversations. She's just been waiting for you to text her." I was floored. "You've got it wrong. She already told me no, right?" Joey gave a bitter smile. "At first, I bought it when she said you were just a friend. If she actually loved you, I'd have been out of the picture. I always convinced myself she wanted me. Someone as incredible as her. She'd had so many guys chase her over the years, but I was the only one she ever brought home. But eventually, I realized that wasn't it all. She can't even remember I hate celery, but she can always remember you won't touch mushrooms. She says she doesn't love you, but her eyes are always finding you. She says she wants you to move on, but the moment you did, she fell to pieces." Joey looked down, his smile turning even more bitter. "It took me a while, but I finally got it. She never loved me. She just thought I was the best option. That's her thing. Everything's got to be optimal. She wanted a partner who checked every single box. But she doesn't get that the most logical choice isn't always the one you love." A single tear splashed onto the dark blue tablecloth, blooming like a drop of ink. "She never loved me, not for one moment." I was completely at a loss. "So you're saying she does love me? If she really loves me, then why'd she push me away? Why go to all the trouble of setting me up with Chloe? I can't answer that." Joey wiped his eyes and looked up at me. "Maybe nobody's got it all together. Even someone as sharp as Miriam can be a total idiot when it comes to matters of the heart. I figure she only realized she loved you once you were really gone. That's the only way I can make sense of it. But I do know she genuinely cares about you. That's why I set up the escape room thing. I just wanted to test it, terrified I was right and terrified I was wrong. When I said I wanted to bring you along, even though she's been icing you out lately, she still said yes without a moment's hesitation. Miriam has never liked this kind of stuff. I'd asked her multiple times before, and she'd shut me down every time. She knows exactly what you're like, and yet she's always got her eye on you." I was completely stunned into silence. On the way back, I ended it. She didn't even try to stop me. She actually looked relieved. Joey quickly pulled himself back together, taking a sip of his coffee with a small, thin smile. "It's not like I don't have other options. It is what it is. I know this isn't on you. You've been doing your best to keep your distance. Miriam's the one who messed this up. She's the one who lost here, not me." She said it with such ease, like it didn't faze her, and she wasn't wrong. Miriam didn't deserve her anyway. I'm flying overseas in a few days. There's a project in France I've been holding off on. I kept delaying because I didn't want to leave, but now there's nothing holding me back. I can finally just focus on work. Joey took a couple of steps toward me, his eyes still a little pink, but a smile on his lips. I bet my last dollar that Miriam's going to come running back to you. I just want to put that out there. She's a complete moron when it comes to love. Don't you dare take her back. I want to see her lose just for once. She waved a hand and walked off. Next time, coffee's on you. My head was a total storm. I'd barely made it home when I saw Miriam leaning against my building wall. My heart dropped. Under the low light, our eyes met. Her black outfit made her eyes seem even harder. What are you doing here? Joey and I broke up. She stared at me, her gaze dropping into the shadows. What's it got to do with me? I took a step back without thinking, but Miriam closed the gap again, stopping just inches away. Chloe isn't right for you. Break it off with her. I finally figured out, Edward. I love you, and you've always loved me. Let's try again. Like we used to be. She said it like it was a foregone conclusion. It actually made me laugh. So absurd it was. Miriam, do you really think that highly of yourself? I haven't loved you for a long time. I'm a Chloe now. Love. You've known her all of 5 minutes. What do you even know about her? She suddenly snatched my hand, gripping my fingers in hers. I was wrong. I didn't get my own heart. I'll make it up to you. You've carried this torch for me for years. How can you just let it go overnight? You're being impossible. Talking to you is like beating my head against a wall. Miriam's lips twisted into a bitter smirk. You've known her for a week, and you're using her to punish me? And then she suddenly pulled me in by the nape of my neck, forcing her mouth onto mine. I pressed my lips tight, but she just pried them open. I was so furious, I nearly bit her, but she caught my jaw in her hand and roughly wiped the wetness from my chin. I could barely breathe through it, and the anger and humiliation flooded right through me, and I clenched my fist and slapped her hard. Miriam didn't even try to dodge it, just let her head snap to the side. Miriam, what do you take me for? Your little puppy? Come when you whistle, leave when you shove. You throw me out like garbage when you're done, and now that you want me back, I'm supposed to come running, tail between my legs? I used to love you, but I was your equal, not your doormat. That doesn't mean I'm going to forget what dignity I've got. That's not what I meant, she fumbled. I just, forget it. It doesn't matter. I scrubbed at my mouth and glared at her. If that's how you want to play it, then we're not even friends anymore. I stormed up the stairs without a backward glance and slammed the door. Miriam didn't follow me up, but I knew she was still out there. I leaned against the wall and slowly sank down to the floor. I wanted to light a cigarette, but my hand froze before I could. I still wanted to quit anyway. Later, I was jarred awake by a string of iMessage alerts. It was an old writing buddy of mine, his voice crackling with barely contained excitement. Your book's been promoted to the main page. Someone just dropped a ton of diamonds on you. I was sure I was still dreaming, and the sleep was gone in an instant. I shot straight up in bed. I opened the app, and sure enough, there was plastered across the top. Someone had dropped 100 diamonds on it in one shot. Each diamond cost $10,000, so 100 came out to a cool million. That kept it at the top of the main page for a solid 10 minutes. I was absolutely floored. I tapped on the user's profile, and it was just a random string of gibberish. No way to figure out who it was. Who the hell had done this? Miriam was the first person I thought of, but I shut that thought down just as quickly. Miriam had never so much as cracked open my work. She knew I wrote, but she'd always been dismissive about it. She'd offer a couple of platitudes now and then, but she'd never asked which site. Chloe definitely wouldn't know. I'd never told her where I posted. So who on earth? I messaged my writing buddies, totally lost. One of them messaged back, all excited. Maybe it's not even someone you know. Maybe some rich reader stumbled across your book and fell head over heels. I remember one time, a sugar mama dropped nearly $1 million on a short story just because she loved it, just to boost it. Looks like you're on your way up. I stare at my book, still in a daze, sitting right there on the front page, too stunned to even feel the joy. I was almost afraid to let myself feel it, scared it would vanish like smoke. But soon after, my book's bookmark count started climbing like crazy, and my views and subscriptions rose right along with it. Over the next few days, my bookmarks kept soaring, and by day 10, I was stunned to see it had cracked the bestseller chart. Right after that, my editor pinged me. Your numbers are really solid. A production company's already eyeing the rights. If you can finish it up soon, get it done. I'll track the rights from here. I put my phone down and let out a long breath. A wave of pure relief flooded through me. A bit later, I shot Chloe a text. Chloe, I guess those shooting stars really came through. She answered almost instantly. That's awesome. We'll catch the next one together. My mom's birthday came around, and I'd already made my first $100,000. That's nothing to some people, but to me, it was more than I'd ever dreamed of earning. I went home loaded down with presents for her birthday. But the second I walked in, my smile died on my face. Miriam was sitting on the couch, peeling garlic for my mom. She acted like our fight had never even happened and looked up with a bright bright smile. Get your shoes off and wash up. Annie made all your favorites tonight. My face fell. My mom got up and laid into me. What's that look for? Look at Miriam, busy as she is. She still made time to come celebrate with me. And all that. She gestured to the mountain of expensive gifts at the door, all from Miriam. If she hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known about you too. A girl like her choosing you is a blessing from 1,000 lifetimes. You couldn't find better if you searched with a lantern. What more do you want? Mom, don't listen to her nonsense. Besides, I already have a girlfriend. My mom just waved her hand like it didn't matter. What girlfriend? You've known her, what, a few months? We've known Miriam's family forever. You've got the perfect match right in front of you, and you're chasing after random girls? I nearly laughed. It was so ridiculous. I knew my mom meant well, but her need to control everything was suffocating. Auntie, please don't be upset with Edward. Miriam, in her white sweater, put on a sad little face. Since he doesn't like me, I can't force it. This is all my fault. Please don't let me come between you. My mom got even angrier. How could this be your fault? He doesn't know. When he's lucky. I never expected Miriam to drag my mom into this. My mom had always adored Miriam, always saying if I could just step up, I might just bring Miriam home as her daughter-in-law. And now she doubled down on forcing us together. I stormed off and slammed the bedroom door. My mom shouted through the door, if you don't get with Miriam, don't call me mom. I don't want that junk you brought. And don't come back. It was so absurd. I was so angry and so wrong. And I called Chloe. She picked up with a laugh. What? Miss me already? What happened? Miss me the second you got through the door. I let it all spill out, every single word. I'm getting out of here tonight. I can't stand another second. Can you pick me up at the airport? Chloe gave a sharp, humorless laugh. Miriam's been playing dirty like this since we were kids. When we fought, it was always me who got in trouble. She always played the poor, innocent victim. But it's fine. We'll handle her together. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. That night, Miriam stayed for dinner at my house like it was the most natural thing. At the table, my mom was practically falling over herself, heaping food on her plate and repeating, eat up, the entire time. And then the doorbell rang. I didn't budge from my seat. My mom threw me a dirty look, answered it, and just froze. I got up and went over. There was Chloe standing in the doorway. She had on a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, holding this huge bouquet of flowers, looking like she just walked off a movie set. Impossibly beautiful. Hello, you must be Edward's mom. I'm Chloe, Edward's girlfriend. You look so young. I actually thought you were his sister. You have such an elegant presence. She handed the bouquet to my mom, her eyes glowing with that magnetic charm. Sorry to barge in so late. Edward told me not to come, but I heard it was your birthday, and I just had to come wish you happy birthday myself. Can I come in? My mom actually blushed. Oh, of course. Please come in. You shouldn't have brought anything. Chloe smiled and set her gift down by the entrance. Oh, it's just a little something, nothing special. My mom scurried to the kitchen to grab another set of plates. Chloe smiled and took the seat across from Miriam. And then, in front of everyone, she reached over and took my hand. To be fair, Miriam was beautiful in her own right, but we'd known each other for 20-some years, and that fresh jolt of surprise was long gone. Chloe was a different story. My mom's eyes were practically glued to Chloe, especially after finding out that she ran a company bringing in 9 figures a year, and that her family's company had gone public ages ago. Miriam's grip on her chopsticks tightened visibly, and that bright smile of hers got a little stiff. Within one dinner, Chloe had my mom wrapped around her finger. She dropped the whole breakup topic entirely. Even my dad was nodding in approval. After the meal, both girls practically raced to the kitchen to do the dishes, trying to show off for my mom. My mom pulled me to the side, her voice a lot warmer now. I never would have guessed that you had it in you. No wonder you were so cold to Miriam. Your girlfriend is something else. So you're not going to force me and Miriam together anymore. My mom waved a hand. Your mom's no fool. I tried to set you up before because she's a solid choice. And I knew you'd always carried a torch for her. But now there's Chloe. She said you're her first love with her own mouth. That carries a different weight altogether. She sighed. Miriam's a good girl, but she's had boyfriends before, and she's brought them home. If I'm stacking them up, Chloe's got the edge. That night, just as Chloe was getting ready to head out, she gave a little gasp. My mom jumped in, all concerned. What's wrong, Chloe? Chloe gave this little wry smile and showed my mom her phone. All the hotels around here are sold out. It's okay. I'll look somewhere else. No hotel for you. My mom reached out and grabbed her by the wrist. You're staying with us. We've got a whole extra room. She even turned to Miriam and added, Miriam, you're just down the street, so I won't ask you to stay. Miriam's face went white as paper, and her hands were balled into fists. Okay, and just like that, Chloe was treated like a queen at my house. By morning, my mom was already pushing me to take her out. Take Chloe out around town. Don't just sit around the house. There's not much to do in this small town, besides this one famous mountain with a temple at the top, supposedly really good for granting wishes. Just as I was getting ready to head out with Chloe, Miriam came running over again. You don't mind if I tag along, do you? We've known each other forever. She smiled. She had a thick skin. I'll give her that. With my folks watching, I couldn't be too blunt, so I just kept a sour face and took her and Chloe up the mountain together. It was peak summer, and the mountain was bursting with green. The air was thick with that fresh, fresh, leafy smell. My spirits actually lifted a little. I held Chloe's hand, all enthusiasm, and we trekked all the way to the top and lit incense at the temple. When I came out of the main hall, I saw her holding one of those wooden prayer plaques, scribbling on it. "What did you write?" I leaned in, curious, and saw it said, "Till the end of time." A wave of warmth flooded through me. She passed me a plaque. "Want to write one too?" I wrote my wish on it, but I didn't hang it up yet. Instead, I wandered off to a secluded corner and began rummaging through the branches. Miriam, watching from nearby, seemed to remember something, and her face drained of color. I searched for a bit and finally found that old plaque I'd hung up all those years ago. It was from my 18th year, right after finals, when Miriam and I had come up here. She hadn't written one back then, and when I'd asked, she'd just scoffed. "I don't believe in this crap. If I want something, I'll go and get it myself. I don't need to beg the universe." So I'd written mine by myself and hidden it in this insignificant little corner. Miriam had asked me what I'd written, if I'd hoped for a good college. I just shaken my head with a smile. All these years later, that vibrant plaque had faded, the characters half worn away. But you could still make out that fierce, young hope from years ago. Hope I can be with Miriam. I yanked that plaque right off the branch and hurled it over the cliff, and then I carefully hung up the new one. Hope my new book blows up and my career flies. Miriam didn't walk down with us. I didn't bother with her and flew out with Chloe that same night. I don't know if that temple wish actually worked, but from that day on, my numbers never dipped. My editor couldn't stop singing my praises. I used to think your romance stuff was missing that edge. The character work was a little thin, but now that you've pivoted to this style, your pacing is flawless. That studio is offering $1.3 million for the rights. What do you say? It's your first time selling film rights, so it won't be astronomical. Can you accept that? I was so hyped, I hugged my pillow and rolled all over the bed and couldn't wait to tell Chloe. Just as I was about to get back to my keyboard, the doorbell rang, totally unexpected. I checked the peephole and saw Miriam. She looked worn out, her cheeks flushed and dark circles carved under her eyes, looking like she'd been traveling for days. I was taken aback and swung the door open. "What happened to you?" Miriam was always so put together, always in command. What could have messed her up this badly? She lifted a shaking hand, clutching a faded wooden plaque in her fist. I found that prayer plaque. Her voice cracked as she was fighting back tears. I searched at the bottom of that cliff for 2 full days, and I finally got it back. "Edward, I have the plaque back. Can you come back to me too?" She begged, voice raw. "I'm sorry," I said, looking at her with a straight face. "Miriam, I really only see you as a friend. Don't keep wasting your heart on me." Those are the very words she'd thrown at me once. A woman as sharp as she was wouldn't have forgotten. Maybe that's why the tears finally broke free. I didn't look back. I just turned and walked inside, and with the soft click of the door, I shut her out, leaving her in the dark outside our warm little world. And then years went by. So many that I'd sold film rights to a bunch of my books and became a hotshot screenwriter in the scene, and I'd gotten completely financially free. My mom stopped calling to push blind dates on me, and instead, she'd brag to everyone about how well her precious son had done. I heard Miriam moved abroad, never married, stayed alone, and she never came back to her hometown again. But on my birthday or around the holidays, she'd always send a gift from across the ocean. Naturally, a very jealous Chloe threw every last one of them straight into the trash. By now, Chloe and I had been married 3 years. Our little one was even starting to babble dada in that sweet little voice. One day, she was in the living room playing with our kid, and my phone had just run out of juice and shut down, so I grabbed hers to log into the writing site. And that's when I noticed a reader account that looked way too familiar. I was floored. Wait, so that mysterious big spender was you the whole time? Hold on, how did you even know I was writing on that site? Why did you? Chloe seemed to drift back to those old days, holding our babbling little one in her arms. She leaned her head against my shoulder, and her lips curved into this soft, warm smile. "You used to post your stuff on that other social site, remember? Even though you took those posts down pretty fast, I still saw them," she said, beaming. "And as for the why," she let out a soft laugh. "The truth is, I've read every single one of your stories, cover to cover, and I always thought your writing was genuinely top tier, especially that one later book. All you needed back then was a chance for people to actually find it. I guess my go was right. And after that, I stopped paying attention to the stats, because I knew you'd already made it." A wave of warmth, huge and overwhelming, filled my chest. I couldn't help it. I reached out and pulled her close against me. She set the baby down carefully on the rug beside us and wrapped her arms around me. The warm, golden sunlight flooded through the big windows, spilling over us in this soft, golden glow. And in that hazy moment, I noticed that another bright, roaring summer had crept up on us, quiet and sudden. So often, we've all been like the guy in this story, chasing a shadow that never looks back, confusing a long, slow bleed with some grand love. Turning away is brutal because you've got to smash the dream you've been building for years. But trust me, walking away from someone who doesn't love you isn't losing. It's the first step toward getting your dignity back. Someone who really cares about you won't look down on you, and they sure won't come come crawling back with unfinished business after they've already let you go. They'll do what Chloe did, quietly lift your dreams up and light the way for you with that wholehearted love, so you can finally shine the way you were always meant to.